Yes, welcome to eVision Live, the might inside, and with the most important tool of self-healing, the power of the tool of imagination.
Welcome to your happy, healthy, fulfilled life.
So we're talking again about imagination, but this time we are going to be more into details, into into tools. Alexandra, in this last week, what has been the most craziest healing story that you have heard?
I always tell you a lot of crazy healing stories, right? And they are crazy because they are fantastic. They are out of our bourgeois mind, our normal mindset, and people start to get very creative in my groups, and they discover their childlike creativity. And last week I had a client with a back pain, or a participant of my group, and she had it for quite a while. And within the group exercises, she created a healing imagination for the back pain, and she has done it ever since, and the back pain healed. It came back and it healed, it came back and it healed, but it got better and better and better and better. So she sent me an image and the whole story, and I got very excited. I opened my email and I said, wow, this is crazy. This is really, really wonderful. And I really love this story. And I really, really love when people get into contact into their creativity and fantasy. For me, it's the room for healing. It's the atmosphere of healing is creativity.
Okay, so stay to the end of our broadcast, and then you will learn how this lady healed herself, right?
Yes, it's a wonderful story.
But tell me, Alexandra, how did you personally get to imagination, to imagine?
Well,
what is your personal story about it?
My personal story is I come from a farmhouse which was outside the village, and my parents were working very, very much, at least over the spring, summer and autumn, and a lot of time I was just on my own. There was my grandmother, she had time for me, but a lot of time I was on my own, and fantasy was my door to other worlds, and I fantasized contacts, I fantasized different forms of living, and I did that with my dolls. I had a lot of dolls. I was playing all the time with my dolls. Before I went to school, afterwards I started reading all sorts of books, fantasy books, and I was playing with the cats, and the cats had names, they had families, and so I was into imagination because I didn't have very much human contact, and there were no children around till I went to school. So I really was a lot on my own, and I dreamed, I fantasized, I imagined, and that was my luck, it was my chance. And then when I went to school, I started reading. With 13, I wanted to become an archaeologist and to dive deep into the stories of mankind. So that's imagination too. And then I studied psychology. I became a psychodrama therapist, and psychodrama works with imagination. And then I became a Jungian psychoanalyst, and Jung's main tool is imagination. He studied myths and stories and fairy tales and dreams. And so actually I'm into imagination all my life, and I just love it. It's my creativity, it's my chance, it's my potential, it's my possibility. And so I'm teaching this to groups, how to raise the imagination, how to widen it, to broaden it. And about a few days ago, I started my Heartlight newsletter in English, and it's on Facebook, and you can get it on our homepage, evisionpublishing.com. And
there's a link where you can subscribe also.
An image and a daily imagination. and it is something to break through the cage of norms and of bourgeois rules into fantasy. So that's the deep sense of this newsletter, because sometimes people say, oh, I rather want a sentence for the day, like have a good day, or let the sunshine be with you, or something like that. And it's an imagination exercise, and if you submit to this newsletter, I would want you to embody the imagination. So there might be an imagination, be a flower that opens up. So on that day you are a flower that opens up. Just feel how a flower would feel. It's for widening our human experience. Or be a lion that goes through the desert, or be a bird that flies, or be a color, or be a puzzle. So there are very
be a drop in the ocean, or
be
whatever.
a drop in the ocean, or be a soap bubble that flies. So there are 1001 imaginations. And
1001 nights.
Yes, it's Scheherazade.
And you said you transformed it into 1001
yes,
mites.
Scheherazade healed by imagination, by stories. She healed the brutal king who was murdering everybody around.
And
she
saved her
healed
life. And
him by imagination. So you're very welcome to exercise with a Heartlight newsletter. You can imagine different feelings, you can embody different feelings, and you can have this as a scent maybe for the day. So it gets a little smell and another texture, another mindset. So I'm very into imagination, that's true.
Okay, and is there a symbol that you, always you're working with, also with symbols? What is a symbol
The
for
symbol for imagination is the wand. And because you can abracadabra create, I create you a red jacket.
Okay.
I create you blue teeth. And I create you purple eyes. I create you black hair or whatever. I create us in an Alaskan igloo.
Okay.
So it's the powerful tool of fantasy. And fantasy is so important to transform from victimhood to victorship.
Yes.
Victorhood.
To victor.
From victim to victor. So that's the tool for that. And a lot of people who suffer from disease, they are sort of in a cage of victimhood. And they feel like a victim. And it's very important to break through that.
To open up.
To open up. So it might, one imagination is open up the cage of your norms. So that's a similar imagination in the Heartlight newsletter. So fantasy brings you out of victimhood. If you read the story of Nelson Mandela, he has been imprisoned in, I don't know, a few square yards for years. And his imagination helped him to survive that. He imagined that the people who torture him will be those whom he will forgive when he will be out of the prison. So he really used the imagination to break through the cage of materialization.
It's a very good example.
Yes,
how he broke all the bars of the prison actually with his imagination.
Yes, his imagination was
you
much
can't
wider.
Imprison imagination.
No, you can't imprison imagination. That's a wonderful sentence, because rulers have tried to imprison imagination. They forbid dances, they have forbidden songs, they have forbidden poetry, they have
laughter.
Forbidden
The Turkish
books,
president wanted to forbid.
So they really wanted
laughter.
to imprison the imagination. That's a wonderful sentence, because they knew about the power of imagination. and we are always free in our imagination. We might not be free in the material world, but we are free there. And we can use that to transform from victim to victor, from challenge to chance. So this is very important. And the tool is the wand, and the kings also had the ball, and it's the earth.
The earth.
It's the earth. And when we imagine something, like imagine a lemon, imagine biting into the lemon, imagine sucking the juice.
Yes.
Yes. And you will feel a bodily response. Imagine long nails and a blackboard. And sense your body. So you will have a body reaction.
You don't have long nails, but I'm feeling my...
Yes. So that's your imagination.
Yeah.
And you might imagine a wonderful kiss or a wonderful hug. And you will have, again, different bodily sensations. So every image you create, every image you have influences at once. This is very important. Every inner image influences at once your heartbeat, your breathing, your biochemistry, your muscle tonus, your hormone system, everything. The body is like a kaleidoscope. And whichever mindset you have, the pattern changes. So that's your might inside. And I hope you get a mighty insight now. So every inner image changes your whole biochemistry.
Everything. And actually, well, it goes beyond your biochemistry. It changes your appearance, your reaction towards other people.
It affects your charisma and how you deal with other people.
How they interact.
And it changes how they deal with other people. You influence people with every contact you have. So it goes, and that's the globe, it goes all around the globe.
So you have
each and any inner image goes around the globe. It goes into your future, it goes into your past. So the globe in one hand and the wand of power in the other. It's a symbol we give the kings and the queens, but we can take it back. It's ours. It's really ours. We have the power to imagine and to influence the whole world with our inner images.
Okay. What we already last time we talked about imaginations, what you can do in your daily life. I think we said it's very important that you play with it, that you try to learn. You have to relearn imagination because we don't really know it. We have never learned it in school. We didn't study at university. You can't study at university. So just try to play a little bit around and try to do some little imaginations. Can you give some examples?
Yes. Last time we had this imagination when you take a shower, that you wash your brain, you wash your inner organs and so forth. You can, if you read a newspaper, just cut off 10 words and put them in a row and make a story out of those words, and then just put them in another row and make another story out of it. Or you can, when you wait at the bus stop, you can imagine that these people are animals or plants. When you sit in the bus, you can do the same thing. When you walk, you can imagine you walk in a different time, or you can walk in a different land. Just try to imagine something crazy, to widen up, to break through this cage of civilization into your inner freedom. And if you have some crazy imaginations, just write them down. I love them.
Yes, we're happy to learn about them.
Yes.
Yes. And any example? Yeah, we have to come back to the example of the lady who healed herself. Well, I wanted to tell a little bit story about myself, because I also, when I learned this imagination, I used it. I had 2 times. I had a skiing accident, not very serious, but serious enough. I had a muscle rupture, torn muscle. And so the first time, about half a pint of blood went into my leg, and
just show it here. So
and it took about 1 year before the body, through self-healing, got all the blood, the stuck blood, got rid of all this blood, and I didn't feel anything anymore. So the second time, this was...
The first time you didn't know
No, I didn't know anything about this. The second time I knew, okay, imagination is something you always have with you. It's free of charge, is with you, and...
it's tested and proved for millions of years.
So you have it always with you. And so I thought, okay, it happened again, I fall, and... again, the muscle was torn, but immediately I took action. I imagined that I was at a glacier. My leg was in the glacier with the ice water, cooling everything. And I took a needle, and all the muscles were just sewn again together. So, and this time, the next day, I was again on the skiing slopes, and it took maybe 2 weeks till everything was gone, but it was completely different situation where I used this power of imagination just to heal myself.
Mm-hmm. That's a wonderful story. It's 2 stories, and you can compare it, the difference.
Yes, I have even a comparison.
And that's how you use your imagination for healing.
Yeah. So what happened with the lady?
Okay.
What's her story?
The lady with the back pain, she came to my groups, and we worked with the inner child. Mm-hmm. And she was a normal lady, quite conservative and strict and controlled and rational. And this inner child was very curious, very wild, very spontaneous. And she had suppressed it for years, tens of years. And in this group session, she came into contact with this inner child, and she took the inner child back home, and she used it for healing. And this story she wrote, and I will publish it as a blog in 2 days, so you can read it, and you can even see the picture she painted for that. And she went to this little child, 3 or 4 years old, and we call it Bella. Mm-hmm. And she said, "Oh, Bella, I have so much back pain. Can you help me heal?" Mm-hmm. And Bella said, "Yes, that's my favorite task. I love to heal." And she said, "Oh, please help me." And then Bella, who was a child, shrank and went to the top of the spine. Mm-hmm. And she stayed there and looked down the spine. Mm-hmm. And then she let her hands grow till they reached the lower spine, the lower back.
The very end.
And I put it like that. And she put the discs in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And she a little bit massaged the spine all the way up, disc and disc and disc and disc up, until everything was set in a proper way. Mm-hmm. And then she had a brush, like a pipe brush in her hand, and she sort of used it like an umbrella. Mm-hmm. And there is this canal in the spine for all the blood and nervous systems. And she imagined it like a loop, like a loop in a swimming pool. Mm-hmm. And she took this umbrella brush and yippee! She
just went down the whole spine.
She went down inside the whole spine
with a brush, and
she cleaned everything, and she massaged everything with an umbrella brush. And when she came out, then she used the spine as a sort of stairs and went up again. And then she took another swing down the loop.
Okay.
And she came up and another swing, and she cleaned the spine inside. She massaged it, and that was her healing exercises. And Bella said, and that's the name of the blog, healing is so much fun.
Okay, we learned this.
Yes.
Healing is fun.
So this might not an imagination where you succeed. It might be different, but use your craziness, use your fantasy, use your imagination, and ask yourself, what is your healing image or your healing imagination story? So
What
write
is
it
good?
down or write it to info@evisionpublishing.com. I'm happy to hear how you healed yourself.
Yes. Thank you so much. Great, great story. You will see it in the blog in 2 days. And, well, then we are at the end. Any access? Well, the call to action for exercises is actually really to just imagine it. Fantasize, imagine, use any occasion to fantasize. And the Heartlight newsletter actually can help you with an imagination that you get every day. Thank you so much. And see you next Tuesday at the same time.
Open your heart and start.